Hello, I'm Superintendent Sharon Bird from the Western Australian Police Force. Family and domestic violence is a serious issue in our community and impacts people from many different communities, cultures and backgrounds. Following video aims to educate members of our community, including newcomers to Australia, about our laws regarding family violence.
There's been some actual physical violence and the lady's in hospital.
Up to say 10 domestic violence calls a day.
Family violence refers to any form of violence within family units or intimate relationships. In Western Australia, there are specific laws that address family relationships, particularly concerning family violence. This issue is a serious one. Most of us aspire to nurturing and positive family relationships where people can thrive. This video will explore the laws related to family violence involving adults, focusing on married, de facto and dating relationships. Our goal is to help you understand these laws. Before we discuss family violence laws, we'll first go over some basic legal information about family relationships.
For women under the age of 45, the leading cause of death and injury is family violence. For women under the age of 45, the leading cause of death and injury is family violence.
When police attend a family violence incident, it is mandatory that they record the incident on their body-worn cameras. You shouldn't be concerned that all family violence incidents that police attend are recorded on their body-worn cameras. The purpose for this is not only for officer safety and to assist the investigation, but your safety and well-being as well.
This is a body-worn camera and it will be recording our conversation. Do you understand?
In Australia, you can freely choose your friends, partners, religious and cultural values, favorite sports, and what your kids watch on TV.
Sorry kids, it's homework time.
Basically, your family and social life are your private matters. However, if your relationships involve a crime or abuse, the authorities can take action. Any sexual or physical abuse within your family is considered a crime.
Hi, good morning. We're from your local police station. The reason we're here is we've had a couple of calls about a domestic disturbance. Is everything okay?
Everything's fine, I'm here with my wife, everything's fine, there's no problem here.
For duty of care, can we come in, speak to you guys?
Just want to have a quick chat, make sure everyone's okay.
We just had a bit of an argument, but if you want to come in...
yeah, we'll just have a chat. Just give us 5 minutes, we'll speak with you and her. Yep, separately, and then here we can go from there.
We have to.
Yep. Let's go.
Family and domestic violence is a threat or violence by a person to a family member. It can be anything to hurt or control a family member and make them afraid. Family and domestic violence can be hurting someone's body or feelings. It can also be things like stalking, hurting their minds, pets, controlling money, or making them feel alone. Remember, family and domestic violence does not always have to be physical. If someone is doing this to you, your family or a friend, there is help and support available.
Just get in the car. You listen to me. No, I'm not interested. Get in the car.
On average in Australia, one woman loses her life to family and domestic violence every 11 days. 1 in 6 women have experienced physical or sexual violence by a husband or partner. 1 in 6 women have experienced economic abuse. 1 in 4 women have experienced partner emotional abuse. These are our mothers, sisters, daughters, neighbors, and community members.
So what happens if we do get charged with an offence?
You will have to go through the legal process, which varies according to the offence, but it may include arrest, going to court, or hiring lawyers. If convicted, you will also receive penalties ranging from fines or, for the more serious offence, going to prison. Further, most convictions will appear as a criminal record, and many employers require a criminal record check before they'll hire you.
Okay.
So what is the law?
About family violence.
Family violence is a term we use to describe any act of violence committed within an intimate family structure. This means any person involved in some type of emotionally connected relationship. Generally, intimate means a close relationship being more than just a casual friendship, and examples include husband, wife, de facto or unmarried relationships and dating relationships. It also includes divorced people, former partners and people who do not live together.
How are you?
In the 1970s, domestic violence was the prominent term used to describe adult relationship violence. Today, however, family violence tends to be the preferred term, as this definition includes all types of close relationships involving adults, children, grandparents and elderly persons, same-sex relationships or extended family members, blood-related or not.
Basically, family violence involves power and control of one person who seeks dominance over another in some type of close relationship. This diagram, the power and control wheel, was developed in Dallas, Minnesota in the 1980s and has become a widely accepted tool for illustrating the range of behaviors that constitute domestic or family violence. Power and control here in the middle connects to all the various forms of family violence on the outside of the diagram. We can see here various abusive behaviors: intimidation, emotional abuse, isolation, minimizing or blaming behavior, using children or even pets to control someone. There might be behaviors demanding privilege, economic control, or the use of coercion and threats. But we can also see such behaviors ranging from extreme physical violence to very subdued verbal methods of control. There is often a cycle of behavior where the perpetrator may apologize or express guilt after committing the abuse.
Just forgive me, obviously these things happen.
Here, the perpetrator is trying to manipulate the victim and draw them emotionally back into the relationship. A typical example is where a relationship is wonderful at the beginning. However, slowly, tension starts to build in the relationship and finally an incident of violence occurs. Here, the victim is shocked, but the relationship, however, then moves into the make-up or reconciliation phase. Here, the abuser appears remorseful, apologetic, and consoling. The victim wants to believe the violence was just an isolated incident, and then there follows a period of calm, often called the honeymoon phase. However, the honeymoon phase doesn't last, and the cycle repeats itself. So again, we have tension, an incident of abuse, reconciliation, and then back to the honeymoon. Quite often, we see that the longer the cycle of abuse repeats itself, the more frequent the incidents of abuse become.
There are 5 generally accepted subcategories of abuse we use to identify family violence. We will look at each of these more closely, and they include physical abuse, emotional abuse, social abuse, financial abuse, and sexual abuse. Physical abuse can be described as any assault upon the person. Examples include punching, hitting, striking, pushing, kicking, grabbing or biting someone. The word physical refers to an action of motion, and physical violence can include the use of weapons, throwing objects or spitting on someone. All of these actions are actual offences defined under our criminal code, and penalties range from fines to imprisonment. In fact, a person can be charged with a crime like assault even if physical contact is not made. For example, just raising your fist at someone with intent can be defined as an assault. It doesn't matter that contact isn't made. It is the act of raising your fist in a threatening manner without the person's consent that constitutes the actual crime. Stalking, for example, is also a relatively new type of offence. It often involves repeated contacting of or harassment of someone, causing them apprehension, fear, physical or mental harm. A common example of stalking involves an ex-partner who repeatedly telephones, follows or contacts their former partner who does not want to associate with them.
Ellie speaking, how may I help you? I've told you not to call me. No, stop calling me.
The ramifications of stalking are serious, as some studies have shown that 80% of women who were stalked by former partners also report they have been physically assaulted by them.
I'm not interested. Just
get in the car.
You listen to me. No,
I'm not interested.
Come on, just get in the car.
Look at me when I'm talking to you.
Accordingly, stalking became a criminal offence in 1995 in Western Australia, and sentencing options for those convicted of this offence include imprisonment.
Emotional abuse is sometimes categorized as psychological abuse, and these terms can involve any number of acts such as threats, intimidation, humiliation, or simply any behaviors that causes emotional or mental distress. Stalking, verbal abuse, name-calling and threatening of a person are more obvious acts of emotional abuse. But emotional abuse can extend to third parties such as their children.
You better shape up for the sake of the kids, okay?
I don't care what you think. I'm going to leave and I'm going to take the baby and you'll never see him again.
You're going to take the baby?
Yes, I will.
It also includes subdual manipulation involving the cycle of abuse, where we see abuse being committed and then followed up, but the abuser being kind and apologetic.
You know, honey, I'm really sorry for hurting you. I only do this because I love you. You and our baby are the only things I've got.
As mentioned previously, this is part of the cycle of abuse, involving manipulation or emotional control, beginning with tension, an incident of abuse, make-up phase, and then the honeymoon. Then the cycle repeats itself. We can also see new behavior resulting in emotional abuse, such as actions involving the internet. Often called cyberbullying, it can involve placing embarrassing or humiliating photographs of someone on Facebook, YouTube, making threats, or simply harassing someone on social media forums.
I've had enough of this stupid harassment.
While the effects of emotional abuse will vary from person to person, we do know, however, that it has clear detrimental effect on the mental and physical health of people. Social abuse is an act that restricts communication of someone or prevents them from having social or community activities.
You're not going out this afternoon, and you're not going to that bloody group. They keep putting stupid ideas into your head. You're not going, okay? And they're not coming here.
It can include preventing someone from leaving the home.
You're supposed to come at least early today from work. Give me the keys, I'm going now. Clean up the house.
It might involve the restriction of telephone calls.
You want to speak to Catherine? No, Catherine can't come to the phone right now.
It might involve forcing an elderly person, for example, to remain in secluded sections of the home.
What are you doing up here? Get back! Go! Keep going.
We have seen situations of perpetrators denying community services to elderly relatives.
Look, I've told you before, she doesn't want to see you. Go away.
These behaviors are primarily about control and the deliberate isolation of a person. Financial abuse is defined as control over the finances within a relationship. This term is more than simply one person doing all the budgeting and paying the bills. It will involve controlling behavior that is often enforced through fear and closely linked to other types of abuses.
Paying so much money. Okay, from now on I'm in charge. Please give me the credit card. Where is the cash?
Example of financial abuse includes preventing a partner from accessing or having a bank account, or confiscating the bank cards.
Thanks, Mum. I'll take that.
The end result is the same, namely the abuses are intended to dominate and control someone.
There are a range of sexual offences in our criminal code, and these will often overlap with physical abuse. These offences are considered serious crimes and penalties include imprisonment. Unwanted sexual conduct is a crime, and in the context of adult relationships, sexual abuse is just like any form of abuse or crime. For example, just because a person is married doesn't give them the right to force or demand their partner to have sex with them or make them do something they don't want to do. In other words, relationships should be based on mutual respect and consent, and sexual abuse will be taken seriously by our justice system.
Situations of family violence can involve any number of the abuses we have just examined, and often they involve a complexity of family, cultural and social issues. And as you can probably imagine, the circumstances of family violence will vary from case to case. In the following video clip, we're going to show you a relationship scenario, and then ask you to decide whether or not it constitutes family or violence. You may wish to pause the video at the end of the scenario to take some time to discuss your answer.
Look, I'm sick and tired of you, alright? There's nothing that you don't do. You don't take care of the child, you don't cook, you don't clean. All you do is just whine around and make noise. You know what? You're staying home today, you're not going anywhere. You see this? I'm taking your money, I'm taking your bank card. And you know what? I'm taking the car as well. You can't be anywhere. Take care of the child and I'll see you at 5 o'clock, okay?
Hello?
Hey Catherine, how are you? Just calling, obviously you know what happened this morning. I'm very sorry about that. I didn't mean to be angry, but you know I love you and I also love our baby. It's just that, you know, sometimes you just make me really angry and I'm really sorry. I will make it up to you. Yes, I understand that you feel bad about it and I'm really sorry for making you feel that way. Everything will go back to normal. I'll come back home. I'll make it up to you.
Alright. Okay.
I'm really sorry. I'll see you after work. I'll make it up to you and forgive me. I'll see you later.
Alright, I'll see you later.
Love you. Bye. Oh, hard day at work. So, what have you been up to? I don't smell anything. Have you even been cooking? What have you been doing all day? Huh? What have you been doing? There's nothing. The house is still dirty, just as I left it. Didn't I tell you about this in the morning? Am I talking to myself? Look at that. There's nothing, no food. What have you been doing?
Is this scenario considered family violence?
You may wish to pause the video to take some time to discuss your answer. The answer to this question is yes. In this scenario, we saw the husband verbally abusing his wife repeatedly, and this is considered emotional abuse. He also took her car keys and bank cards, which are indicators of social and financial abuse. It doesn't matter that the physical violence was not used. The husband's actions here are clear examples of family violence. You will note that when he made the phone call, he was quite apologetic. This is an example of subtle manipulation,
I'm really sorry.
the beginnings of the make-up phase in the cycle of abuse that often plays out in situations of family violence.
It is important to realise that a person doesn't have to live with another person who is abusive or violent. There is help available if you are experiencing family violence. We also recognise that there are often barriers preventing people from dealing with family violence. These barriers can be community or cultural pressures, fear, being isolated, or simply not realising that there's help available.
You do not have to experience this on your own. There is help out there. There are people out there that work with utmost confidentiality, that they work for you. Please,
Thank you.
have a seat.
Thanks for having me.
That's okay. I think it's very courageous of you to have come in, to have made an appointment to come in and to see me.
Someone to talk to.
Sure.
And because, you know, I live far away from family, so it's when I have someone I can talk to, it makes it easier, and someone I can trust. And when I was told about this place, at first I was scared, but it had to take me some time, like a week, to thinking about it. And when I talked to you, just the voice and the way you answered the phone made me say, okay, I have to go and meet this person.
Yeah, I'm very happy that you did.
Started happening time after time, and I was ashamed to share it with anybody. And I couldn't tell my mom because she's far away. And if I told somebody, they're gonna think, oh, you're just being, you know, you're supposed to be strong. He's your husband, and you can't embarrass him.
Well, you're very brave. In some cases, we see victims blaming themselves for the domestic violence, the relationship breakup, or even the family separation. But I want to emphasize that any blame lies with the perpetrator of the violence. It is not the victim's fault.
What's up, mate? You don't seem your usual self.
I had an argument with the missus last night and things got out of hand a bit.
Did you do something?
I lost it and may have done something out of order. But you know, she drives me this way. She drives me insane sometimes, and I just couldn't help myself.
Well, what happened? Is Ellie all right?
Did you see how
It's been going on for a while, and last night things got physical.
look, you're a good mate, and I've known both of you for years, but really there's no excuse for violence. You always have a choice. And if you've done something wrong, you need to accept responsibility. You can't blame her if you've done something. Look, do you want your kids to grow up watching this, learning this behaviour? You need to speak to somebody, get some professional help or something.
Okay. The West Australian legal system operates on the principle that people are responsible for their own actions. You cannot blame someone else for your behaviour, and if you commit an act of abuse or a crime such as family or domestic violence, the authorities will take appropriate legal action against you.
Family violence varies from case to case. It may be that police are needed urgently to take a victim to a refuge. Some relationship problems might be resolved through counselling, but this will depend on the willingness of both partners to attend. Sometimes it is not possible for the relationship to survive if the other partner doesn't stop being abusive and violent. It may be that divorce or living apart is the most viable solution.
Family violence is a very serious issue for our community, and around 40% of operational police work is spent dealing with family violence.
How are we going with this DV?
Yeah, good start. We've been out and spoken to him. He's made full admissions about it.
And the lady and the children, where are they?
Yep, so look, we've issued a police order there, so they've stated...
So they're still at premises?
Still
right.
Obviously, yeah, we've kicked him out for 72 hours.
Australia-wide statistics indicate that on average,
that 1 in 3 women has experienced some form of domestic violence in her lifetime.
female victims are also more likely to require medical attention or hospitalisation and more likely to report fearing for their lives.
We also know, based on very recent statistics, that 2 women a week are killed in Australia as a result of intimate partner homicide.
Sadly, children are also victims.
Vicky out from Tank November 240. You have a 329, job number 033685. Can you send that through, please? Well, domestic violence is something we certainly have to take very, very seriously in the job, because not only for the safety of the complainant, there's also the children involved, who quite often are the innocent third party, but also there is violence towards officers, and it's not uncommon for officers to become victims of violence themselves in domestic violence situations. This job now has been prioritised, it's raised in priority. Weapons have been involved inside it, so we're taking it a little bit more serious. Most times it is the male is the aggressor. Update on the job. The guy's now smashing bottles, and he's outside at the front of the house, and he's swinging what looks like a baseball bat. So yeah, he's got baseball bat, bottles, and the children are inside, yeah. Domestic violence covers every single aspect, every suburb of Perth. So there's no discrimination with domestic violence.
While both sexes can be guilty of committing family violence, the majority of reported cases are perpetrated by males against females, with many studies reporting 80 or 90% of perpetrators being committed by males. Research shows that child abuse also occurs in 30 to 60% of families that have experienced adult family violence. Each year in Western Australia, we have around 3,000 women and children requiring emergency accommodation, having to escape family violence and go to a refuge.
When families first come here to our refuge, they'll be staying in one of these 3 units here. The units are shared, but families will have their own bedroom. In the middle here, we have the Child Advocacy Support Unit. Basically, their role is to work one-on-one with the children.
The impact of family violence is extremely serious, and is not only a social and human cost, but a significant time and financial burden on police, courts and agencies having to deal with the fallout of broken families.
The psychological effects of family violence on people varies upon many factors, including the frequency, the duration and severity of the abuse, age of the victim, type of abuse and so forth. However, we know that when a person is experiencing abuse, they experience stress, and the body reacts by producing a chemical called cortisol. This chemical cortisol is a stress hormone, a substance naturally produced by our body's adrenal glands. And elevated cortisol levels can build up in the blood and become toxic, leading to serious health issues.
When we're experiencing a frightening situation, our hormones internally, and that regulates everything in our body, our muscles, our what goes on in our brain, those levels of adrenaline, cortisol, etc. are increased.
Family or domestic violence in their relationship during pregnancy has an effect not only on the woman, but on the unborn child through the transmission of stress from the mother to the unborn child.
During pregnancy, the stress levels from mom get passed to the baby through the blood. With a newborn baby, the stress levels get passed through the breast milk.
Medical studies show that stress can lead to significant health issues like heart failures, heart disease, diabetes, high levels of pressure, blood pressure.
At times, violent people will say, well, I've never hit my kids. So my violence has never been directed at them, so they're okay. And what we know is that they're not okay, because of course they have a close relationship with other members in the family. For example, the mother, if they're observing mum to be violated in some way, or they see her fearful all the time, that has an impact on them.
That prolonged disruption to the body's responses to stressful situation will actually change the brain. It changes the genetic imprint in our DNA and makes us more vulnerable to psychological disorders, ability to cope with stressful situations.
We know that the younger the child experiences trauma or violence or any kind of disruption to the normal environment, the greater the effects are on their development and later on consequences in life.
If police are alerted to incidents of family violence, they must respond and investigate. Police have the power to enter a residence and investigate acts of family violence without the permission of the residents. If police hold concerns for the safety and welfare of any person, then they have the authority to issue a police order on the spot.
I'm going to give him the police order. We're going to issue you with a police order. It's going to be for 72 hours.
And what's that?
A police order provides temporary but instant protection for a person who has been threatened, harassed, or intimidated, and it's basically a lawful direction preventing a person from contacting another person and or banning them from going to certain places, such as a specified residence.
What do you want me to do now? What do you want me to do now?
You can grab your stuff and then you can call up your friend or someone where you can go and stay for 72 hours.
So you're just kicking me out. So why are you doing this? I don't agree with it. My wife doesn't agree with this.
Yeah.
It's the police decision. We have made a decision. So at this stage, I think it's not safe for you to be here.
He's not in trouble. We've just issued him a police order, okay? That's our decision to do that. We take that out of your hands so that he can have some time to cool off, okay? We're just going to give him a lift to a friend's house. Do you understand that? All right, he's not being charged at this stage. We just issued the order to give him 3 days to cool off, okay? A police order lasts for up to 72 hours, but it provides the opportunity for the victim to attend court to obtain a restraining order. I'll also get you in contact with our family protection unit, okay? All right, you'll be okay. It is a criminal offence to breach a police order, and if a person does so, they can be arrested and charged. Penalties range from receiving a fine to imprisonment. If a crime is committed, the burden of proof to prosecute someone rests not with the victim, but with the state.
Oh, sir, we're going to arrest you. We're going to bring you back to your station for assault.
No, he's just going to go. I just don't want to hear anymore.
Furthermore, other parties not directly involved in family violence incidents cannot intervene in police investigations.
Good morning, sir. How are you today?
We heard about domestic violence incident in our community. We have come here to know more about this incident. We wanted to keep away the police. We don't want to go to court. So if we can help by getting some information about what happened.
Unfortunately, sir, we are not able to reveal any information in relation to this domestic violence matter because it's in the police hand now and the police has to do their detective investigation. We can't divulge any information to you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
The police also have the authority to facilitate emergency accommodation for victims of family violence who may require alternative accommodation. Okay. Look, if you need somewhere else to stay for the night, we can get you a refuge. Police will also refer victims to family domestic violence response teams located in every police district. Okay, what I'm going to do is get you in contact with our family violence unit.
The family and domestic violence response teams are made up of a partnership of 3 agencies, the police, the non-government agency and the Department for Child Protection and Family Support. We work in partnership to assist families who are victims of family violence on a case-by-case basis.
We've had this file come in overnight that we're going to have to get onto pretty quickly. There's been some actual physical violence and the lady's in hospital, so we need to look after them.
Right, so you guys do that little bit there and we'll get the history.
Our role involves the family, but with a focus primarily on the children or any young people involved. In many cases of adult family violence, the children in the household may be exposed to such violence directly or indirectly. For example, we might see a pregnant woman becoming a victim of family violence, which impacts on the health of the unborn child. In all cases, however, we strive to keep families intact and never take children from the parents unless there is absolutely no other option available.
Women and children experiencing family violence can contact us directly for assistance. We can help them understand their options and support them to make choices for themselves and their children. We can help them with finding refuge accommodation, accessing Centrelink benefits, housing, counselling for themselves and for their children.
Yes, I'm calling on behalf of a client.
We can also help them with seeking legal advice and assistance.
I had an appointment here today.
Is it Jenny?
Yes, it is.
Morning, Jenny. My name's Nicola.
Hi,
Your
Nicola.
appointment's with me. Come through and take a seat. So how can I help you today, Jenny?
I really don't know if I should be here or if I want to be here. I don't want to go to the police and I don't want to talk to anybody else. Yeah, but there's been a bit of an incident. I really don't know. I don't know what to do.
Okay, so it sounds like you're not sure at the moment about what's going to be best for you. So let me just start by saying that, you know, anything that you want to do in here, you can. You don't have to go anywhere and report things. This is a safe space for you to explore your options and your choices and what's around for you. And we can facilitate on your behalf or not.
There was an incident with my partner last week.
A Family Violence Restraining Order, or FVRO, is a legal order from the court that seeks to stop one person from harming another. Its main goal is to protect people. The order is usually made when someone has already been harmed or aggrieved and there is a strong chance they might harm that person again. The FVRO makes it against the law for the person who caused the harm to contact the other person. You can ask the court directly for an FVRO, or you can get help from family violence agencies. Many of these agencies, both government and non-government, offer their assistance for free. However, if you choose to use a private lawyer to help you with an FVRO, you'll need to pay for their services. In Western Australia, a family violence service is available at different courts. They offer free and confidential advice and assistance and are able to provide support and someone to speak up on your behalf if you're afraid and have experienced violence in a relationship. Their trained staff can assist with many aspects of dealing with family violence, such as connecting you with counsellors, police, legal help, medical care and other important services. If someone needs help with an FVRO, they can also go to a police station, where specialist family violence teams will meet with them. They'll explain the choices available and can even help start the process by working with family violence lawyers from Legal Aid. When someone wants a Family Violence Restraining Order, or FVRO, they start by filling out a form. Then they go to a private court hearing to explain exactly why they need that FVRO. For the court to approve an FVRO, it must be convinced of a few matters. Firstly, that abuse has happened before. Secondly, it's likely that the person who hurt them, called the respondent or offender in the court processes, will do it again. Or thirdly, the person who is seeking the FVRO is afraid of the respondent and afraid that they'll hurt them in the future. When someone is applying for an FVRO, Firstly, they need to go and fill in an application form. From there, the applicant will appear before a closed court where they will give their reasons in relation to why they are applying for an FVRO. To grant the FVRO, the court must be satisfied that there has been abuse and the respondent or offender will likely commit further acts of abuse. Also, it may be that the applicant reasonably fears that the respondent will commit additional acts of abuse and violence against them. The decision to issue a police order is made by police officers who are at the scene of a family violence incident. If there's an immediate need to protect you, a police officer may decide to issue a police order under the Restraining Orders Act. This can happen if police believe someone has committed an act of family violence and they might do it again. Or if a child has been involved or exposed to family violence by a family member. Or the issuing police officer is doing it because they want to keep you safe. Once a police order is issued, it stays in place for a period of 72 hours from the date and time it was issued, or for a shorter period if specified. If the police order is for less than 72 hours, these reasons will be noted in the incident report detailing the family violence incident. The police order will contain certain conditions such as restricting communication. Do not communicate directly or indirectly with the person listed, or go to an address where they may be located. It's important to comply with the conditions listed in the police order. This police order acts as a temporary family violence restraining order, and if you are the respondent on the order and do not comply with the conditions, it is an arrestable offence.
Number 257 of 15. You've come to court looking for a violence restraining order, is that right? If you would go into the witness box and we will have you go under oath, please.
Quite often, the actual court hearing will take around about 10 minutes.
What has happened to bring you to court today? Why do you want a restraining order today?
I've had some problems with my husband. He's been beating me.
To grant the FVRO, the court must be satisfied that there has been abuse and the respondent or offender will likely commit further acts of abuse. Also, it may be that the applicant reasonably fears that the respondent will commit additional acts of abuse and violence against them.
You say for some years he's been beating you. Is it likely that he will continue to do this?
I think so, yeah.
How has he threatened the child? Now, do you understand that if I grant you a restraining order, it will mean that you can't have any contact with him at all? Is that what you want?
Yes.
And also, it means that if he does try to contact you, or if he does contact you, the likelihood of him going into custody, that means into prison, is very high indeed. There are things which I have to consider, that is, your husband's present behaviour, which is extremely serious from what you tell me, and it is likely that he will continue to behave in this fashion. I am of the view that I should grant an order, it will be an interim order, which will mean that your husband can object and he can bring his objection to the court. If he doesn't object, it will become absolute for 2 years. But it means that neither you nor he can contact each other. But having heard that your husband has been beating you for some years and threatened the child, that you quite reasonably fear, it would seem, that your husband will continue to do this, I will make the following order that 1, an interim order shall issue to Doe and son James. Secondly, the respondent shall not contact the applicant by whatever means. That means email, telephone, video, having someone else contact you on his behalf. He's not allowed to do that. 3, he's not to attend your address, nor to be within 100 metres of that house. If he comes to your house with a police officer, he can collect his personal belongings. So if he's got a suit or anything like that he needs for work, he will be entitled to collect that, but nothing else, just his own personal gear. 4, the respondent shall not attend the applicant's place of work The order will have effect as soon as he is served. That brings the matter to a close. Thank you. What will happen now is that the order will be served upon your husband. We will need to find out where he is.
Hello sir, how are you?
Yes, how can I help you?
Yeah, I'm Senior Constable Staples, Senior Constable Brown.
Yes.
I was just looking for John Doe.
Yes, that is me.
Could I just confirm your date of birth, John, of 23/9/86?
That is correct.
John, I've just got some paperwork here for you. Do you mind if we step inside and I'll just go over this with you?
Okay, you can come in.
All right, thanks, mate.
Yes.
Okay, John, what I've got for you, mate, is a violence restraining order. Here's your copy here.
A violence restraining order?
Yeah, it was taken out by Catherine Doe. There's some certain terms in regard to this, mate, so I'll just go through those with you to make sure you fully understand what's going on here.
Catherine took out this?
Yeah, she did, mate. She's been to the court, applied for a violence restraining order, and we've been given this to come around and serve on you. So if you'd just like to follow me through the form here, if you have a look, it actually specifies the terms of the order. It says that you must not be in possession of a firearms licence, or obtain a firearms licence. Okay? You can't communicate or attempt to communicate with the person bound by whatever means. So that includes SMS messages, text messages, sending emails, all that sort of thing.
So I can't speak to Catherine?
No, not at all, mate. And you can't enter or remain upon or loiter near 81 Lakeside Drive in Joondalup, or any other premises where the protected person, so that's Catherine, lives or works or is educated, or be within 100 metres of the nearest external boundary of those premises. All right. You can also approach within 100 metres of a protected person. So if you see Catherine down the street, you can't sort of approach her at all. Right. You can't behave in an intimidatory, offensive or emotionally abusive manner towards a protected person, which is Catherine. And you can't cause or allow any other person to engage in the type of conduct referred to in the preceding paragraphs of this order on your behalf. So that means you can't get family, friends, other relatives to sort of pass messages on your behalf.
So I can't even use there's no way of me speaking to Catherine?
No, not except through a legal practitioner. So if you have a look at Part B here, it says you will not be in breach of the order in Part A if you communicate with a protected person through Australian legal practitioner. And if you have a family court order for access visits and things like that, that'll override this violence restraining order.
So that's the only way I'll see my child?
Yes, it is, yep. If the protected person encourages or causes a breach of the order. So if Catherine rings you up and says, John, I want you to come over and discuss the situation with me. If you do go over, you will still be in breach of the order, even though she might have invited you across. So it is important not to go to the address or speak to her under those terms.
So even if Catherine wants to get back with me, this
will prevent
still be
that.
Committing an offence.
You certainly would.
If circumstances change, an applicant or victim, however, can apply to the court to have either interim or final VROs cancelled, or have conditions of the order varied. Interim VROs remain in place until the court decides otherwise, either through dismissal or cancellation. Final VROs will expire at the end of their specified time frame, which is usually 2 years in duration.
So if you'd like to arrange a time with us, we can go around with you so you can collect some of your personal effects. And by doing that, you won't be in breach of the order as well. Catherine would have had to satisfy the court that there were sufficient grounds to warrant the issuing of the violence restraining order. You'll see that there's 2 sections on there, and this is where you can object or consent to the violence restraining order. You've got 21 days.
Legal assistance concerning family violence can be obtained for free or at a low cost from community legal centres or Legal Aid WA. Also located at various magistrates' courts is the Department of the Attorney-General's Family Violence Service. This service provides free information, advocacy and support to people experiencing family violence. Community legal centres, or CLCs, are independent, not-for-profit organisations that provide legal and other related services to the public. Your local community legal centre can be located on the National Association for Community Legal Centres website, www.naclc.org.au. Here you can search for a local CLC.
I've just taken a VRO against my husband and I just want to know what happens next.
Sure, we can provide you legal advice regarding that. I also need to let you know that your husband is entitled to obtain his own legal advice. Okay. Can I have a look at your VRO, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Our centre, for example, can assist people with various legal matters, including those experiencing family violence.
Hi there, how can I help you?
Hey, how are you doing? I've got a 2:30 appointment with Callum. Callum?
Yes, yes. Why don't you grab a seat? I'll let him know that you have arrived.
Okay, thank you.
How are you?
Hello, how are you?
Well, thank you. Come through, take a seat.
Thank you.
So, how can I help you today?
Police came to my house. They've served me with this violence restraining order. Says that I can't see my wife. Just want some help.
Do you mind if I have a look at that document?
Of course. It says that I cannot communicate with my wife and my son. How can this happen without them even giving me a chance to be heard?
This is an interim violence restraining order. This order was granted by the Magistrates Court based on your wife's version of events only.
There are things which I have to consider, that is, your husband's present behaviour, which is extremely serious from what you tell me, and it is likely that he will continue to behave in this fashion. I am of the view that I should grant an order, it will be an interim order.
Now that you've been served with the VRO, there are a number of options that are available to you. I'll take you through each option one by one.
Okay, thank you.
Firstly, if you do not agree there should be a VRO in place, you have 21 days from the date on which you were served with the order to file an objection.
So when does this start?
As of now, the moment I served you with the document, that's in place. So this is an interim order at this stage. So as I mentioned, you can consent or object to the order. So you've got 21 days if you want to object.
You should file your objection with the court registry where the violence restraining order was granted.
If you have a look at the sort of top right-hand corner, it's got details of the court that issued the restraining order and a case number in regard to it.
If you don't object, there will automatically be a VRO granted for a period of 2 years from the date on which the interim order was made.
If he doesn't come to court, we'll simply go ahead, and it will be for 2 years.
I would definitely be objecting to this straight away. I'm not a violent person. I do not want this to be on my criminal record at all.
It's important that you know that a violence restraining order is a civil matter. This means that it's between you and your wife. Being bound by a violence restraining order does not appear on your criminal record. However, it is a criminal offence to breach a term of a violence restraining order.
Okay, but I still don't think this is right for me. So once I object to the VRO, I will be able to speak to my wife and son again.
No. Even when you object to the VRO, the interim violence restraining order will remain in force. The purpose of objecting to the VRO is to notify the court that you wish to defend your wife's application.
So what would happen to me if I communicated with my wife about seeing my son?
The interim violence restraining order prohibits you from communicating with your wife and your son by any means and for any purpose. If you do communicate with either of them, you'll be breaching the violence restraining order and you could be charged by the police.
You can't communicate or attempt to communicate with a person bound by whatever means. So that includes SMS messages, text messages, sending emails, all that sort of thing.
So I can't speak to Catherine?
No, not at all, mate.
Hey Liz, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I've just got this note from my wife. Could you please give it to her?
Is this legal?
No, not except through a legal practitioner. So that means you can't get family friends, other relatives to sort of pass messages on your behalf.
There are serious consequences for breaching a violence restraining order, including imprisonment.
If you breach the order, sir, you're going to be liable to a penalty. So that's an offence. You will be arrested for it, which is a breach of a restraining order. You will be liable to a $6,000 fine.
$6,000?
Yeah, so $6,000 fine and or 2 years imprisonment. So you could also be liable to imprisonment as well.
So once I object to the VRO, what will happen?
Once you object to the VRO, you and your wife will be summoned to a period of final order hearing where you will both have an opportunity to give evidence and to call your own witnesses.
If your husband objects to the order when he gets served with it, then it will be brought back to court and then the court will hear both sides of the matter.
What are the alternatives? I do not know if I can deal with the stress of going through with a final order hearing.
Your first option is to consent to the violence restraining order being made final. This could be in the same terms as the existing interim violence restraining order or on any terms as are agreed between you and your wife. Any negotiations that occur regarding the VRO must be done through a lawyer.
There's no way of me speaking to Catherine?
No, not except through a legal practitioner. So if you have a look at Part B here, it says you will not be in breach of the order in Part A if you communicate with a protected person through Australian legal practitioner.
I don't want to admit to what she has said about me being violent towards her though.
It is important that you are aware that when you agree to a violence restraining order being made final,
you are doing so on a no admission basis. This means that you will not be admitting to any of the conduct alleged by your wife. Therefore, if you and your wife end up with proceedings in the Family Court of Western Australia regarding your son, the fact you are bound by a violence restraining order cannot be used against you.
So you are saying that I can negotiate the terms of the VRO with my wife?
That's correct. We could inform your wife that you would be willing to consent to the VRO on the basis of certain amendments. However, you should also be aware that family court orders prevail over an existing violence restraining order. Therefore, if your primary concern is being able to spend time with your son, you need to seek family law advice and bring an application to the Family Court of WA. The Magistrates Court is not the appropriate jurisdiction for you to seek orders to spend time with your son.
Well, look, what if I refuse to allow her to divorce me?
If your wife wishes to apply for a divorce, she can do so. However, a divorce will not be granted by the family court until you have been separated for a period of 12 months.
I am still not sure that I am comfortable being bound by an order of the court. What is the other option available to me?
The second option to settle the dispute between you and your wife is by agreeing to an undertaking. An undertaking can be in the same terms as the interim violence restraining order or on any terms agreed between you. If you and your wife agree to an undertaking, it is on the basis that your wife withdraws her application for the violence restraining order. An undertaking is therefore not a court order, and it is not a criminal offence to breach an undertaking. However, a copy of the undertaking is filed with the court, and any breach of the undertaking may result in your wife making another application for a violence restraining order. In the event you and your wife cannot agree to undertakings or to the terms of a consent order, the matter will have to proceed to a final order hearing. However, if you proceed to a final order hearing and you are unsuccessful, you may be required to pay the costs of your wife's legal representative.
Could you please just explain to me what an act of abuse is?
An act of abuse includes acts of family and domestic violence. An act of family and domestic violence not only includes physical violence or threats of physical violence, but also behaving in an intimidating, offensive, or emotionally abusive manner.
This whole thing is very distressful. I should have dealt with it some other way.
Well, as a lawyer, I've seen these situations many times, and I would say that addressing relationship problems early would have been better for everyone involved.
Please remember, you do not have to endure family violence, and such behaviour is not acceptable in our society. Relationships should be happy and healthy ones based on mutual respect and equality. If you are experiencing family violence, you are strongly encouraged to seek help and talk to someone. If you feel threatened, you should contact the police on 131 444 or, in an emergency, 000. Another important number is that of Crisis Care, a 24-hour free telephone service that have trained staff who can advise you about the various options you may have concerning family violence. Crisis Care can also link you to various government and community organisations who offer services to men, women and children regarding family violence and other related concerns. Your local community legal centre can also assist you with further information. We hope this educational video has been of some assistance to you and your family, and that you and your family have a happy and healthy life here in Western Australia. The next section of this video is about family violence and children.
Then you see it just walking, be the road ahead, a life's destiny. there's nothing we can do when our world it turns so blue, when the sunlight fades away, and all we can do